Greetings, loved ones. Again, the act is simple, but everything around it is not. Fist meets flesh, force makes contact, nerving ends fire away in pain, and capillaries burst, tissues swell. The physical mutates the moment, violence creates as it destroys. Today, we continue the discussion of why he hits, the psychology of an abuser. Help get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button and please share these videos with others because you never know, by doing so you may save a life. The purpose of these videos is so those who are not victims of violence can recognize those who are, and those who are victims of violence can recognize they are suffering violence and can leave. The goal is always that. Yesterday we began discussing an article by Dr. Kim in Psychology Today on why men hit the ones they profess to love, and today we're going to continue. So why would someone need to constantly control and belittle someone else to feel better about themselves? Abusers sometimes come from backgrounds where they were often belittled or grew up with lack of self-esteem. Usually the abuse is directed towards someone who would be considered weaker than them, someone who is vulnerable, like a physically smaller female who is often younger, less educated, or less financially independent, more easily manipulated. The abuser, and here it goes, I'm going to say it, the abuser is a secret coward, never assured of their own power, even when they stack the deck heavily in their favor. I'm going to repeat that. An abuser is a coward. And certainly there can be male victims of abuse as well, with even more complex forms of shame and manipulation involved. Dr. Kim says, yet even with these biological and psychological insights as to what renders someone vulnerable to becoming violent, Dr. Kim says, I still wonder what goes awry in that key moment where someone decides to cross the line that most of us still recognize and appropriately flinch at in revulsion. Where someone lets loose with that fist, that belt, that weapon, decides to finally pull that trigger. Sometimes, Dr. Kim says, I still think there is a greater moral question to be asked as well of an abuser. What is causing that blind spot that says hitting someone is okay? Perhaps there is a rush, a thrill that goes with the transgression, Dr. Kim says. There's a perverse reward going on in the circuits that the kill has happened. It's not that different than other trained instincts of violence we encourage in our society, be it in video games or aggressive sports or hunting or never-ending wars. Perhaps there is still a thirst for blood that is gratifying, enjoyable, and it is a thin line to cross when it comes then to a loved one who is easily and readily accessible, easy to hide. This line crossing may differentiate a sociopath from the rest of us. And yes, perhaps the level of sociopathy or psychopathy is ultimately part of the picture for an abuser, says Kim. A lack of empathy, even an enjoyment of inflicting cruelty or pain, a disregard for the aftermath. Dr. Robert Hare, psychologist who created the gold standard for diagnosing psychopathy, which is called the Hare Psychology Scale, estimates that only 1% of the general population meets criteria for the official diagnosis. He has noted that higher numbers may have psychopathic traits and can be found in corporate businesses and other mainstream walks of life. He says, although many may tend to consider domestic abuse as more of a crime of passion or less calculated than your stereotypical cold-blooded murder, Dr. Kim says that really isn't the case. Oftentimes, there is a long-standing pattern of manipulation and control inflicted by the abuser. Their tactics are not fleeting and isolated. They groom and master their victims quite skillfully. The callous bursts of violence are part of a larger campaign to dominate and emotionally cripple their victims so they lose their independence and willpower to leave. In this sense, says Dr. Kim, given the high rates of domestic violence in our society, up to a third of women have been subjected to it, according to a recent CDC study, the rates of sociopathic traits might be much higher than we realize. Kim says, sure, all of us carry some capacity for cruelty or violence. Thanatos fights with arrows for our souls, the age-old devil and angel chattering on our shoulders for control. Kim says most of us keep our basic instincts in check. But circumstances in biology may make it easier for the line to be crossed, may bring you closer to the precipice. But it's still your choice to release the monster. I'm going to say it again. For all of those out there who abuse others, it is still your choice to release that monster. And it's a choice we must continue to acknowledge, to prosecute, and vehemently condemn. But that condemnation comes at a price we must acknowledge as well. Abusers come in all walks of life, all levels of society, and varying degrees of behavior. There are definitely female abusers too, but we shouldn't minimize the statistical reality that more men are prone to committing domestic violence. They are human too. They can be loved and loving. They can do good as well as evil. It's not always so easy to just leave them or hate them. We should also stand back and view both abuser and victim with some compassion and appreciation of humanity and circumstantial complexity. We need to continue to examine and address socioeconomic factors that contribute to abuse, such as war, poverty, stress, mental illness, violent entertainment, and other contributors to violence. We need to encourage mutual respect in society and healthy role models for relationships. We need to promote love and forgiveness as well, but part of that involves recognition of a crime, recognition of the brutality of a violent act, not denial. Only when the act is acknowledged can the healing begin. With 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence worldwide, the question is not if you're going to encounter a victim of violence, but what will you do when you do encounter them? You know, you could be the person who saves a life. We are all called to be champions for justice, and those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to help them have the courage to leave before it is too late. So help us get these messages out. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button, and please share these messages with others, because you never know, by doing so you could save a life. This series is dedicated in honor of Gabby Petito and all other women who have died and suffered violence at the hand of another. Please check out the foundation that Gabby Petito's family created in her honor, gabbypetitofoundation.org. If you're a victim of violence, I want you to stop what you're doing right now and listen to me, and I want you to know this. You are valued, you are loved, no matter what they say, you are intelligent, and you are beautiful. God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. There is a way out, and it's not your fault. Abuse is not love. If someone says that they love you and then they abuse you, they are liars. If you're a victim of violence, please reach out to somebody and get the help you need. If you're in a violent situation right now and your life is in danger, please dial 911 for rescue. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about sexual abuse in marriage. It's going to be a 3-part series, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So please come back tomorrow and we'll talk about sexual abuse in marriage. And until then, God bless you.